The stars looked cold in the darkness of space. Among them, 800 alien warships moved like deadly sharks through the void. They belonged to the Zaphiran Empire, the strongest military force in this part of the galaxy. Their ships were massive, covered in thick armor and powerful weapons. Each one could destroy a small planet. Admiral Vexthul stood on the bridge of his command ship. He was tall, with blue-green skin and 4 arms. His golden eyes watched the screens that showed his fleet. This was the largest armada the Empire had ever sent to fight. Today they would crush the human colony on Haven's Rest. The humans were new to space. They had only left their home planet 50 years ago. The Empire had been watching them, studying their weak ships and simple weapons. Humans seemed soft, emotional, and easy to defeat. That's what all the reports said. Admiral, called Tactical, Officer Kreshta from her station. Her voice was nervous. I'm getting strange readings from Sector 7. Vexthul turned his 4 eyes toward her. Kreshta was young but very good at her job. She never made mistakes with the sensors. What kind of readings? He asked. Kreshta's hands moved over her controls. The main screen showed empty space with small dots of light. There's something there, but it's wrong. The energy signature is human, but the power levels don't match anything in our files. Other officers on the bridge stopped their work to listen. The bridge became quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Show me the exact numbers, Vexthul ordered. The screen changed to show rows of data. Vexthul looked at the numbers and felt his blood turn cold. The power reading was impossible. No human ship should have that much energy. Their biggest warship was like a small fishing boat compared to Empire vessels. Run the scan again, he said. There must be an error. Kreshta's fingers flew over her controls. She ran the scan 3 more times. Each time the results were the same. Something was out there and it was very powerful. Sir, whispered Communications Officer Galactic. His voice shook. I'm picking up an energy pattern. It matches. The classified files from Proxima. The bridge fell silent. Every officer knew about Proxima even though they weren't supposed to. 3 years ago, an Empire battle group had attacked the human system of Proxima Centauri. 12 Imperial warships had gone in to destroy human settlements. Only 3 ships came back. The survivors told an impossible story. They said a single human ship had fought all 12 vessels for 6 hours. It had destroyed 9 Imperial warships before disappearing into space. The Empire leaders said the survivors were lying or crazy. They said humans could never build such a ship. But standing here now, looking at his sensors, Vexthul began to believe those impossible stories. Bring the fleet to battle formation, he ordered. His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. Sir? Kreshta looked confused. Against 1 ship? Do it now, Vexthul said more loudly. Across the armada, 800 warships began to move. They formed attack groups and powered up their weapons. Captains asked questions over the communication system. Why were they preparing for battle against empty space? Vexthul ignored the questions. He thought about the stories from Proxima. The survivors had described a human ship that moved like a ghost. It would appear from nowhere, strike hard, and vanish before they could fight back. They said it used weapons that bent space itself. They said the humans inside the ship fought, like devils. Admiral, called Galactic. I'm getting messages from the other ships. They want to know why we're in battle formation. Tell them we have detected an enemy vessel, Vexthul replied. But sir, the sensors only show 1 ship. Our intelligence says human vessels are weak. Surely 800 ships can handle 1 human boat. Vexthul looked at his young officer. Galactic had never fought humans before. He had only read the false reports that said humans were easy targets. You don't understand, Vexthul said quietly. I was at the Battle of Kepler Station 5 years ago. Before that, I fought at Titan's Edge. I've seen what humans can do when they're desperate. He walked to the center of the bridge and looked at all his officers. Humans are different from us, he continued. When we fight, we follow rules and formations. We use proper tactics and retreat when we take heavy losses. Humans don't do that. When you corner a human, When you threaten what they love, they become something else. They become monsters that fight until their last breath. The bridge crew listened carefully. They had never heard their admiral speak like this. The reports from command are wrong, Vexthul said. Humans aren't weak. They're dangerous because they refuse to accept defeat. They turn their weakness into strength. They make weapons from things we would never think of. And when they're outnumbered, they fight harder, not softer. A new alarm started ringing on the bridge. The sound was loud and harsh. Contact, Kreshta shouted. The signature is moving. It's coming toward us. On the main screen, a small dot began moving through space toward their fleet. It was tiny compared to the Imperial warships, but the energy readings made it look like a small star. How fast is it moving? Vexthul asked. Impossible speed, sir. It should be torn apart by those forces, but somehow it's holding together. Other ships in the armada began reporting the contact. Panic spread through the communications system. Captains who had been confident minutes before now sounded worried. Vexthul thought about his options. He could order the fleet to retreat, but that would be shameful. The Empire had never run from humans before. He could spread his ships out to avoid being an easy target, but that would weaken their attack power. Or he could stand and fight, hoping that 800 ships would be enough. All ships, he said into his communicator. This is Admiral Vexthul. We are about to face a human warship. Do not underestimate the enemy. Use all weapons. Show no mercy. Remember that the honor of the Empire depends on this battle. Around the bridge, his officers prepared for combat. Weapon systems came online. Shields powered up to maximum strength. The crew worked quickly and efficiently, but Vexthul could see fear in their movements. The human ship was still just a dot on their screens, but it was growing larger. Soon they would be able to see its actual shape. Vexthul wondered what kind of vessel could produce such impossible energy readings. What weapons did it carry? How many humans were aboard? Most importantly, he wondered if his 800 ships would be enough to stop it. In the distance, the small dot continued to move toward them. It looked harmless, like a tiny fish swimming toward a school of sharks. But Vexthul knew better. Sometimes the smallest enemies were the most dangerous. Barzar, Battle for Haven's Rest was about to begin, and for the first time in his long military career, Admiral Vexthul wasn't sure his side would win. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the center of her ship's bridge. Around her, 50 of the best human warriors in the galaxy worked at their stations. The bridge was smaller than an Imperial command center, but every surface hummed with advanced technology. The ship was called the UHSS Indomitable. It was humanity's greatest achievement and their last hope. When Earth fell to the Empire 3 years ago, only a few human ships escaped. Most were destroyed or captured, but the Indomitable had survived, and it had been hunting Imperial fleets ever since. Sarah looked at her crew. Each person bore scars from the war. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez had lost his left arm defending the Luna shipyards. Navigator Park had watched her home colony burn from space. Weapons Officer Chen, no relation to the captain, had been a prisoner of war for 6 months before escaping. But they were here, alive and fighting. That's what mattered. Captain, called Sensor Officer Kim from her station. I count 800 enemy vessels. They're forming attack patterns. Sarah nodded. Good. They're scared. When the Empire is scared, they make mistakes. The Indomitable was not like other human ships. When Earth scientists knew they were losing the war, they had built this vessel using every advanced technology they could create. The ship's hull was made from quantum phase metal that could bend space around it. Its weapons used pure energy torn from stars. Its computer systems were linked directly to the crew's minds through neural implants. Most importantly, the ship had something the Empire could never understand: the burning hatred of people who had lost everything. Sarah touched a control on her captain's chair. The main screen showed the massive Imperial fleet, 800 ships against 1. She smiled grimly. The odds were almost fair. Tell me about their formation, Kim, she said. Standard Imperial attack pattern, Kim replied. Heavy cruisers in front, destroyers on the flanks, command ships protected in the center. They're trying to surround us. They think we'll fight like a normal ship, Sarah said. They expect us to charge in and trade shots with their front line. Chief Engineer Rodriguez spoke from his station near the back of the bridge. All systems are running at peak efficiency, Captain. The quantum drives are stable. We can phase shift whenever you're ready. Sarah looked at the tactical display. The Imperial ships were large and powerful, but they moved slowly. They relied on thick armor and heavy weapons. Human ships were different. They were fast, smart, and unpredictable. Open a channel to all sections, Sarah ordered. Throughout the ship, her voice echoed in corridors, engine rooms, and weapon stations. This is the captain, she began. In 30 minutes, we're going to fight 800 Imperial warships. They think we're just another human vessel they can crush with numbers. They're wrong. She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew. Each person was ready to die for this mission. We are the crew of the Indomitable, she continued. We are the last graduates of Earth's Naval Academy. We carry the memory of every human world that has fallen. We fight not just for revenge, but for the future of our species. The ship's internal communication system carried responses from every section. Voices called out agreements and battle cries. These weren't just soldiers. They were the survivors of humanity's darkest hour. The Empire thinks humans are weak because we feel emotions, Sarah said. They think our anger makes us sloppy. Our love makes us soft. They don't understand that these emotions are our greatest weapons. She activated the ship's neural link system. Immediately, her mind connected with the Indomitable's computer core. She could feel the ship's power flowing through her thoughts. Around the bridge, her crew made similar connections. Their individual minds joined together into something greater. We don't fight fair, Sarah said, both aloud and through the neural link. We fight smart. We use their strength against them. We make them afraid. Tactical Officer Nakamura called out from his station. Captain, they're moving into final attack position, weapons powered and ready. Good, Sarah replied. Kim, are we still invisible to their main sensors? Yes, ma'am. The quantum phase cloak. He's holding. They know we're here, but they can't get a clear target lock. Sarah smiled. The Indomitable had technology that the Empire's scientists said was impossible. Human engineers had taken theoretical physics and turned it into working weapons. They had pushed every system beyond safe limits because safe limits wouldn't win this war. Rodriguez, give me everything the engines can handle, she ordered. Yes, Captain. Quantum drives at 110% capacity. We can maintain this for about 6 hours before risking core failure. That should be enough time, Sarah said. She thought about the colony world they were protecting. Haven's Rest had 2 million human civilians, families, children, elderly people who had escaped from Earth when it fell. The Empire wanted to make them slaves or kill them all. Sarah would die before she let that happen. All stations report ready, called Navigator Park. Weapons charged and locked, added Nakamura. Stealth systems operating normally, said Kim. Sarah stood and walked to the front of the bridge. Through the main screen, she could see the massive Imperial fleet waiting for them. Each enemy ship was 5 times larger than the Indomitable. Their combined firepower could crack a moon, but size wasn't everything. Humans had learned that lesson the hard way. Remember the plan, Sarah told her crew through the neural link. We don't line up and trade shots. We hunt. We strike fast and disappear. We make them fight each other. We turn their numbers into a weakness. The crew responded with mental acknowledgments. Their thoughts flowed together like a river of determined fire. Also remember, Sarah added, some of us might not survive this battle, but our sacrifice will save 2 million innocent people. That's a trade worth making. She returned to her captain's chair and placed her hands on the neural interface controls. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UHSS Indomitable, she said over an open channel to the Imperial fleet. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system. If you do not leave, we will destroy you. The response came quickly from Admiral Vexathol himself. Human vessel, you are outnumbered 800 to 1. Surrender now and you will be treated according to Imperial law. Sarah laughed. Admiral, you don't understand. We're not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with us. She cut the communication and looked at her crew one last time. All right, people, she said. Let's show them what humans can do. The Indomitable began to move toward the Imperial fleet, its hull shimmering as quantum energies danced across its surface. The hunt was about to begin. The battle began like a dance between a tiger and a flock of sheep. The Indomitable moved through space with impossible grace, while the Imperial ships struggled to track its movements. Admiral Vexthul watched his tactical screens with growing fear. The human ship appeared on sensors for a few seconds, fired its weapons, then vanished completely. Each time it attacked, one of his vessels exploded or went dark. Where is it now? He demanded. Unknown, sir, Tactical Officer Kreshta replied. Her voice was tight with stress. It appears randomly across our formation. Our targeting computers can't lock onto it. Another explosion lit up the darkness. The heavy cruiser Thunder of Empire broke apart, its hull torn open by weapons that seemed to ignore armor completely. That's 17 ships in 30 minutes, reported Communications Officer Zelek. The captains are asking for new orders. Vexthul gripped his command chair with all four arms. 17 ships destroyed, and they hadn't even scratched the human vessel. This wasn't a battle, it was a massacre. All ships form defensive circles, he ordered. Overlapping fields of fire. The human ship can't attack without exposing itself. Across the armada, Imperial warships began clustering together in tight formations, their weapons pointed outward, in all directions ready to fire at any target that appeared. But Captain Sarah Chen had anticipated this move. Inside the Indomitable, the crew worked with mechanical precision. Their minds were linked through the neural network, allowing them to think and act as one organism. They're clustering, reported Sensor Officer Kim through the mental link. Just like we expected. Perfect. Sarah's thoughts flowed back to the crew. Rodriguez, prepare the Ghost Protocol. Chief Engineer Rodriguez's mind touched the ship's quantum drives. The Indomitable began to phase in and out of normal space, creating multiple false sensor signatures. To the Imperial scanners, it looked like dozens of human ships were attacking from every direction. The clustered Imperial formations opened fire on empty space, their weapons creating brilliant light shows but hitting nothing. Worse, in their panic, some Imperial ships fired on their own allies. Sir, Kreshta called out on the Imperial command ship. Thermal Lance and Void Striker are firing on each other. They think the other one is the human ship. Vexthul watched in horror as two of his heavy cruisers tore each other apart. The human vessel was using their own formation against them. Cease fire! Cease fire! He broadcast to all ships. Verify targets before shooting. But the damage was done. The Imperial formation was falling apart. Ships scattered in all directions, each captain trying to avoid both the human ship and friendly fire. Sarah smiled grimly as she watched the chaos through her ship's sensors. The Imperial fleet was doing half her work for her. Now we really hurt them, she thought to her crew. Nakamura, target their command vessels. We cut off the head, and the body dies. Weapons Officer Nakamura's mind merged with the ship's targeting. Computer. The Indomitable's main weapon, the Helios cannon, began charging with power stolen from a captured star. The human ship materialized behind Admiral Vexthul's command vessel. For a moment, both ships hung motionless in space. Contact! Kreshta screamed. It's right behind us. Vexthul spun around to look at the rear tactical display. The human ship was smaller than his command vessel, but energy readings showed it, was preparing to fire a weapon of incredible power. All weapons, fire on that ship, he ordered. The Imperial command vessel's guns opened fire, sending streams of plasma and particle beams toward the Indomitable. But the human ship's quantum phase, armor bent the incoming weapons around it. The deadly energy passed harmlessly through empty space. Then the Helios cannon fired. The beam of pure stellar energy cut through the command ship's shields like they were made of paper. It carved a burning line across the vessel's hull, disabling weapon systems and killing hundreds of Imperial soldiers. But Vexthul's ship didn't explode. The Indomitable had damaged it, not destroyed it. Why didn't they finish us? Jalak asked, his voice full of confusion. Vexthul understood immediately. The human captain wasn't trying to destroy every ship. She was sending a message. I could have killed you all, but I chose not to. Fear me. It was brilliant psychological warfare. Sir, Kreshta reported, we're getting reports from across the fleet. The human ship is attacking command vessels and communication relays. They're trying to blind us. Vexthul realized the human strategy. Cut the communications, destroy the command structure, and let chaos do the rest. Without coordination, his 800 ships were just 800 individual targets. Open emergency channels, he ordered. All captains ignore the command structure, fight as independent units. Use any tactics you think will work. But removing central command created new problems. Some Imperial captains retreated to safe distances. Others charged forward in desperate attacks. A few froze in place, unsure what to do. The Indomitable hunted through this confusion like a shark in bloody water. It would appear, strike, and vanish before the Imperial ships could respond. Each attack was surgical and precise. Captain Chen felt the strain of the battle through the neural link. The crew's minds were tired from hours of high-intensity combat. The ship's systems were running beyond safe limits. They couldn't keep this pace forever. Damage report, she thought to her crew. Quantum drives at critical temperature. Rodriguez responded mentally. We need to reduce power or risk explosion. Hull stress fractures on decks 4 through 7, added Damage Control Officer Williams. The phase shifting is tearing us apart. Casualties? Sarah asked. 12 injured, 3 dead, Medical Officer Park replied. Lieutenant Santos was killed when a plasma conduit exploded. Ensign Taylor died at his post in engineering. Sarah felt each loss like a physical wound. These weren't just crew members. They were the last hope of humanity. Every death weakened them all. But they couldn't stop. 2 million civilians on Haven's Rest were counting on them. How many Imperial ships left? She asked. 437 operational, Kim reported. We've destroyed or disabled 363. Nearly half the enemy fleet was gone, but the remaining ships were adapting to human tactics. They moved unpredictably, kept their weapons ready, and avoided clustering together. Admiral Vexthul, despite his damaged command ship, was proving to be a smart opponent. He was learning from each encounter and passing new strategies to his surviving captains. They're getting better at fighting us, Navigation Officer Park observed through the neural link. Then we get better too, Sarah replied. That's what humans do. We adapt. She studied the tactical display, looking for new weaknesses to exploit. The Imperial fleet was spread across thousands of cubic kilometers now, making it harder to hit multiple targets quickly, but spread out also meant isolated, and isolated ships were vulnerable. New plan, Sarah thought to her crew. We stop hunting the pack and start picking off stragglers. One ship at a time, far from the others. Make them afraid to be alone. The Indomitable changed course, heading toward an Imperial destroyer that had drifted too far from its allies. The ship's crew didn't realize they were about to become the next target in humanity's dance of death. The battle was far from over, but the Empire was learning a hard lesson. Never corner a human with nothing left to lose. 6 hours into the battle, the Indomitable was dying. Captain Sarah Chen could feel it through the neural link. Every damaged system, every failing component, every crew member pushed beyond their limits. The ship had destroyed over 400 Imperial vessels, but the cost had been terrible. Chief Engineer Rodriguez was dead, killed when the main reactor overloaded during their last attack. Weapons Officer Nakamura lay unconscious in the medical bay, his neural link severed by feedback from the targeting computer. Status report, Sarah said aloud, her voice hoarse from hours of combat. Hull breaches on 6 decks, reported damage. Control Officer Williams. Life support failing in sections C and D. We're venting atmosphere. Quantum drives are critical, added Acting Engineer Park. One more phase shift might cause a core explosion. Weapons at 60% power, called out Temporary Weapons Officer Kim. The Helios cannon needs 4 hours to recharge fully. Sarah looked around her bridge. Half the stations were empty or manned by people who weren't trained for those jobs. Blood stained several control panels where crew members had been injured by exploding consoles. Through the main screen, she could see the remaining Imperial fleet. 350 ships still survived, and they had learned to fight. They moved in coordinated patterns, covered each other's blind spots, and kept their weapons ready at all times. Admiral Vexthul had proved to be a worthy opponent. Even with his command ship damaged, he had managed to hold his fleet together and adapt to human tactics. "Captain," Communications Officer Torres said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from Haven's Rest. The colony administrators want to know if we need help." Sarah almost laughed. Help from civilian transport ships against Imperial warships? It would be suicide. "Tell them to prepare for evacuation," she replied. "If we fail here, they need to run." The neural link carried waves of exhaustion and pain from her crew. They had given everything, but it might not be enough. The Empire still had hundreds of ships, and the Indomitable was falling apart. Sarah closed her eyes and thought about her options. They could retreat, try to repair their ship, and fight another day. But that would leave Haven's Rest defenseless. The Imperial fleet would destroy the colony within hours. They could continue the hit-and-run attacks, but their ship wouldn't survive much longer. Eventually, the quantum drives would explode, or the hull would break apart completely. Or they could try something desperate. "All remaining crew to the bridge," Sarah announced over the ship's communication system. Within minutes, 37 survivors gathered in the cramped space. They were all that remained of the Indomitable's original crew of 50. Each face showed the strain of the long battle. "I'm not going to lie to you," Sarah began. "Our ship is dying. We've lost good people and we're barely holding together." She gestured toward the screen showing the Imperial fleet. "But we've also proven something important today. We've shown the Empire that humans don't break easily. We've made them afraid." The crew listened silently. They knew their captain was building up to something dangerous. "However," Sarah continued, "fear isn't enough. If we retreat now, they'll attack Haven's Rest. 2 million people will die or become slaves. I won't let that happen." She walked to the center of the bridge and activated the main tactical display. "There is one option left. Protocol Omega." The crew exchanged worried glances. Protocol Omega was theoretical, a desperate battle plan that had never been tested. It involved pushing every system beyond Redline and linking all surviving crew members directly to the ship's core computer. "Protocol Omega will turn us into a weapon," Sarah explained. "Our minds will become part of the ship's targeting system. Our life force will power the weapons. We'll become something between human and machine." "What are the survival chances?" asked Navigator Park. Sarah met her eyes directly. "Unknown. No one has ever tried it before. The neural stress might kill us all. The ship might explode from the power overload." "But if it works?" Williams pressed. "If it works, we become something the Empire has never seen. We become a vessel powered by pure human will." The crew was quiet for a long moment. Each person understood what Sarah was asking. She wanted them to risk everything on an untested plan. "Captain," said Medical Officer Chen, "even if we survive Protocol Omega, what's the end goal? We still can't destroy 350 ships." Sarah smiled grimly. "We don't need to destroy them all. We just need to reach Admiral Vexthul's command ship. We phase shift directly through their defenses and show them something impossible. We prove that human technology and determination can overcome any odds." "And then?" Park asked. "Then we give them a choice. They can continue fighting and watch us take their entire fleet with us when we die. Or they can surrender and learn that humans are not just another species to be conquered." The crew considered this. It was insane, dangerous, and probably impossible. But they had been fighting impossible odds all day. "I'm in," William said first. "Me too," added Park. One by one, the remaining crew members agreed. They would try protocol. Omega Sarah felt pride swell in her chest. These people had lost everything, their homes, their families, their planet. But they hadn't lost their courage. "All right," she said. "Connect to your neural interface stations. We're going to show the Empire what happens when you back humans into a corner." The crew moved to positions around the bridge. Each person sat down and placed their hands on neural interface controls. Sarah took her position at the captain's station. Protocol Omega authorization, she said clearly. Captain Sarah Chen, authorization code Alpha 779. The ship's computer responded with a mechanical voice. Protocol Omega confirmed. Warning, this procedure has not been tested. Survival probability unknown. Do you wish to continue? Continue, Sarah said firmly. Around the bridge, neural interface cables extended from each station. The crew members took the cables and plugged them directly into ports behind their ears. Immediately, Sarah felt the minds of her crew flowing into hers. Their thoughts, memories, and emotions became part of her consciousness. She could feel their fear, their pain, and their determination. But more than that, she could feel the ship itself. The Indomitable's computer core opened to their joined minds. Every weapon, every engine, every system became an extension of their combined will. Now we finish this, Sarah thought, and 37 voices answered as one. The Indomitable began to glow with an inner light as human consciousness merged with quantum technology. The ship that emerged from that fusion was something new. Part vessel, part weapon, all fury. Admiral Vexthul watched from his command ship as the human vessel began moving toward them again. But something was different now. The ship's energy signature had changed completely. What are they doing? He whispered. He was about to find out. The Indomitable moved through space like a living star. Its hull glowed with quantum energy, and reality seemed to bend around it. Inside the ship, 37 human minds had become one consciousness focused on a single goal. Admiral Vexthul watched the approaching vessel with a mixture of fear and fascination. His sensors were giving impossible readings. The human ship was somehow existing in multiple dimensions at once. Sir, Tactical Officer Kreshta called out, their energy signature is off the scale. It's like they're drawing power directly from space itself. All ships open fire, Vexthul ordered. Everything we have. 350 Imperial warships unleashed their weapons at the approaching human vessel. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and fusion missiles filled space with deadly energy. The weapons passed harmlessly through the Indomitable like it was made of light. The ship continued forward, completely unharmed. Captain Sarah Chen felt the Imperial attacks through the neural link. Her combined consciousness was spread across multiple dimensions now. She could see past, present, and possible futures all at once. The crew's minds had merged with the ship's quantum computer, creating something beyond normal human understanding. They can't hurt us now, she thought, and 37 voices agreed. The Indomitable accelerated toward the center of the Imperial formation, where Vexthul's command ship waited. Imperial vessels moved to block its path, but the human ship simply phased through them without slowing down. Inside those Imperial ships, crew members watched in terror as the glowing human vessel passed through their hulls like a ghost. They felt no damage, but they understood they had witnessed something impossible. Admiral, Communications Officer Zelak reported with a shaking voice. The human ship just passed through the cruiser Eternal Might. No damage to either vessel, but, sir, that's not possible. Vexthul stared at his screens. The human ship was now only a few kilometers from his command vessel. Its glow was so bright that his cameras had to filter the light to prevent blindness. What do they want? He whispered. His answer came through a direct communication channel, but the voice that spoke wasn't just Captain Chen's. It was dozens of voices speaking as one, human consciousness amplified beyond individual existence. Admiral Vexthul of the Zaphiran Empire, the merged voices said. We are the crew of the UHSS Indomitable. We are what humanity becomes when you threaten everything we love. The Indomitable came to a stop directly in front of the Imperial command ship. The two vessels faced each other across a few hundred meters of space. We have shown you that your weapons cannot harm us, the voices continued. We have demonstrated that human technology can surpass your understanding. Now we give you a choice. Vexthul found his voice. What choice? You can continue this battle. We will phase our ship through your vessel's core and detonate our quantum drives. The explosion will destroy both ships and most of your fleet. You will lose everything and we will die as we lived, fighting for our people." The Imperial bridge fell silent. Every crew member understood what they were hearing. The humans were offering to die in order to take the entire Imperial fleet with them. Or, the voices from the Indomitable continued, "You can choose to learn. You can discover that humanity is not just another species to be conquered. We are evolution itself. Beings who refuse to accept limitations, who turn every defeat into a lesson, every impossible situation into an opportunity." Vexthul thought about everything he had witnessed during this battle. A single human ship had fought 800 Imperial vessels for 6 hours, and won. They had used technology that shouldn't exist and tactics that defied military logic. But, more than that, they had shown something the Empire had never encountered: the willingness to sacrifice everything for others. The humans on the Indomitable could have fled hours ago. Instead, they had stayed to protect people they had never met. "What are you asking for?" Vexthul said. "Surrender your fleet," the voices replied. "Not to us, but to the possibility of something better. Learn from us as we learn from you. Help us build a future where war is not the only answer to disagreement." The Imperial Admiral looked around his bridge. His crew members were staring at him, waiting for his decision. Behind them, 350 warships waited for orders. Vexthul had been a soldier all his life. He had conquered dozens of worlds for the Empire. He had never retreated from a battle or surrendered to an enemy. But he had also never faced an enemy like this. "You're asking me to abandon everything I believe in," he said. "No," the voices replied, and now Vexthul could hear individual emotions within them. "We're asking you to expand what you believe in, to consider that strength comes from protection, not conquest. That true victory means everyone survives." Inside the Indomitable, Sarah Chen felt the strain of maintaining Protocol Omega. The neural fusion was burning through their life force like fire. They couldn't hold this state much longer, but she could also feel something else through the quantum link: uncertainty in the Imperial fleet. Ships that had been ready to fight were now hesitating. Crews were questioning orders for the first time in their lives. "Decide quickly," she said through the merged consciousness. "We are dying to maintain this state. In 10 minutes, our ship will explode whether we choose it or not." Vexthul closed his 4 eyes and thought about his options. He could order his ships to retreat and wait for the human vessel to destroy itself, but that felt cowardly. He could order a final attack, but his weapons had already proved useless against the Indomitable's current state. Or he could do something unprecedented in Imperial history. "All ships," he said into his communicator. "This is Admiral Vexthul. Stand down from battle stations, lower shields and power down weapons." "Sir?" Kreshita looked shocked. "You heard me," Vexthul said firmly. He opened a channel to the Indomitable. "Captain Chen, I am ordering my fleet to surrender, not because you have defeated us with superior firepower, but because you have shown us something we did not know existed." "What have we shown you?" the voices from the Indomitable asked. "That there is more than one way to be strong," Vexthul replied. The glow around the Indomitable began to fade. The ship's hull became solid again as the crew disconnected from protocol. Omega. On the bridge, 37 humans collapsed in their chairs, exhausted but alive. Sarah Chen opened her eyes and looked at the main screen. Around them, Imperial warships were powering down their weapons and lowering their shields. The battle was over. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UHSS Indomitable," she broadcast on all frequencies. "The fighting stops here. Today we learned something important: that enemies can become allies when they choose understanding over conquest." 3 months later, the first joint human Imperial research station was established in orbit around Haven's Rest. Scientists from both species worked together to study the quantum technologies that had made the battle possible. Admiral Vexthul requested reassignment from military command to diplomatic service. He became the first Imperial ambassador to human space. Captain Chen and her crew recovered from their injuries and were assigned to escort the new research station. The Indomitable became a symbol of hope rather than war, and throughout the galaxy, other species began to hear a new legend: They whispered about the humans who had faced impossible odds and won, not through violence, but through the courage to offer peace when they could have chosen destruction. The legend said that humans were different from all other species. When cornered, they didn't just fight harder. They found ways to turn their greatest enemies into their greatest friends. And in the cold darkness between stars, that legend grew stronger with each telling. The massive ship appeared in Earth's sky without warning. It was bigger than any city, its dark metal surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to move when humans looked at them. Ships from 12 different alien races surrounded it, each one carrying weapons that could destroy entire planets. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the window of the space station, watching the alien fleet. She was a small woman with gray hair and cold blue eyes. Behind her, the Emergency Council of Earth's leaders waited in silence. They all knew this moment would decide humanity's future. The communication screen flickered to life. A creature appeared that looked like a cross between a snake and an insect. Its forearms moved as it spoke in perfect English, though its mouth never seemed to match the words. "I am Ambassador Vexthal of the Galactic Council," the creature said. Its voice was smooth but carried a threat. "We speak for 12 civilizations that have ruled this galaxy for over 50,000 years. Chen stepped forward. "Admiral Sarah, Chen representing humanity. What do you want?" The alien's eyes narrowed. "Your species has been watched. In less than 300 years you have spread to over 200 star systems. You build weapons. You fight wars. You take what you want without asking permission." "Sounds like you know us well," Chen replied calmly. "Too well," Vexthal hissed. "You are dangerous. Your expansion threatens the peace we have maintained. The Council has decided to offer you a choice." Behind Chen, President Harrison leaned forward. "What kind of choice?" The ambassador's image changed. Now it showed a map of the galaxy. Human colonies were marked in red dots that seemed to pulse like blood. "You will withdraw all human presence from every system except Sol within 1 galactic year. You will submit to Council oversight. You will accept limits on your technology and population. You will never again leave your home system without our permission." The room fell silent. Chen could hear the blood rushing in her ears. "And if we refuse?" "Then every human in the galaxy dies," Vexthal said simply. "We have done this before. The Kethran Empire refused our generous offer 2,000 years ago. Their homeworld is now a ball of glass and radiation. The Zaphiran rebels thought they could resist us. Their species learned to serve or face extinction. They chose service." Chen walked closer to the screen. "You're threatening genocide. We prefer the term galactic peace enforcement. Your species will learn to follow the rules or it will be removed from the equation." General Roberts, Earth's military commander, spoke up. "How many ships do you have?" Vexthal made a sound that might have been laughter. "Enough. Our current fleet numbers over 10,000 vessels. Each one carries the power to crack planets. Your entire human military has what? 200 ships? 300 at most?" "Something like that," Chen said quietly. "You see the wisdom in surrender, then?" The ambassador continued. "We are not unreasonable. You may keep your technology for farming and basic manufacturing. You may maintain a small defense force for system patrol. Some humans may even serve as crew on Council ships, if they prove loyal." Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's chief scientist, stepped forward. "What about our research, our medical advances, our art and culture? Anything deemed non-threatening may continue. Under supervision, of course." The alien's tone suggested he found the question amusing. "Your species shows some promise. With proper guidance, humans might become useful members of galactic society." Chen felt something cold settle in her stomach. "Useful members? You mean servants?" Such a harsh word. "We prefer to think of it as finding your proper place in the natural order." The Admiral looked at the map again. Every human colony, every ship, every family scattered across the stars. Billions of people who had left Earth to build new lives among the stars. The Council wanted them all to come crawling back home, to accept chains, to bow down to alien, Masters who saw humans as nothing more than dangerous animals to be caged. You'll need time to consider our generous offer, Vexthul said. We understand this is a significant decision. You have one galactic standard year to comply. And after that year? Chen asked. After that year, the offer expires. We begin the removal process. The screen went dark for a moment, then showed the alien again. We should mention that attempting to flee beyond Council space would be unwise. Our reach extends far beyond this galaxy. We have dealt with runner species before. It never ends well for them. Chen nodded slowly. I understand your position. Perfectly. Excellent. We look forward to your cooperation, Admiral. The galaxy is a dangerous place for species that refuse to learn their limits. The communication ended. The room stayed silent for long minutes. Finally, President Harrison spoke. Sarah, what are we going to do? Admiral Chen turned away from the window. Her face was calm, but her eyes had gone completely cold. We're going to give them an answer they'll never forget. You can't be serious about fighting them, Dr. Vasquez said. 10,000 ships against a few hundred? It would be suicide. Would it? Chen walked to the conference table. Tell me, Elena, what did you think of their ambassador? Arrogant. Confident. Why? Because arrogant and confident species make predictable mistakes. Chen sat down. They think they know us. They think we're like every other race they've conquered, scared, willing to trade freedom for survival. General Roberts frowned. Aren't we? Chen smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. General, how long have humans been preparing for this moment? What do you mean? I mean, did anyone really think we could spread across the galaxy for 3 centuries without someone eventually noticing? Did anyone think we could build the colonies we've built, develop the weapons we've developed, train the people we've trained, without having a plan for the day someone tried to stop us? The room grew quiet again as understanding dawned on their faces. The Council thinks they're dealing with primitives who stumbled into space by accident, Chen continued. They see our numbers and think we're weak. They see our settlements and think we're scattered. They see our response to their threat and think we're considering surrender. What are we really doing? President Harrison asked. Admiral Chen stood and walked back to the window. The alien fleet hung in space above Earth, like a sword waiting to fall. But she wasn't looking at the ships. She was looking at something else entirely. We're giving them exactly 1 year to realize they made the biggest mistake in galactic history, she said softly. Humanity doesn't negotiate with threats. We eliminate them. As if responding to her words, the first human ship appeared on the U.S. edge of the solar system, then another, then 10 more. Soon the space around Earth filled with vessels that hadn't been there minutes before. The Council had made their demand. Now humanity would give them their answer. But first, they had work to do. 6 months had passed since the Council's ultimatum. To anyone watching from space, humanity seemed to be considering surrender. Ships moved between colonies at normal speeds. Trade continued. Families went about their daily lives. The Council's spy drones reported nothing unusual. They were looking at the biggest lie in galactic history. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked through the underground laboratory beneath New Geneva Colony. The facility stretched for kilometers in every direction, hidden under what appeared to be simple farmland. Thousands of scientists worked around the clock on Project Tabula Rasa. Show me the latest results, Elena said to Dr. Park, her lead. Researcher Park pulled up a holographic display. The quantum viral weapons are ready for deployment. Each species in the Council has different biology and technology. We've created specific variants for each of them. Elena studied the data. How do they work? The virus enters their computer systems through any connection. Then it learns how their technology functions and turns it against them. Their own ships become weapons pointed at themselves. What about the biological variants? Even better. The Zaphirians are telepathic, but their brains are vulnerable to specific frequencies. The cracks have enhanced immune systems, but we've found the one weakness that makes those systems attack their own bodies. Each species has a fatal flaw, We just had to find it. Elena nodded. Humans had been studying alien biology and technology for decades through trade and diplomacy. What the Council saw as peaceful contact, humanity had used as intelligence gathering. How long for full deployment? Elena asked. 3 weeks. Every human colony and ship will have these weapons ready. And they won't detect them? Park smiled. The beauty of quantum viral weapons is that they don't exist until activated. Until then, they're just random quantum fluctuations in our computer systems, completely invisible. Elena left the lab and took a transport to the surface. Above ground, New Geneva looked like a normal farming colony. Children played in the streets, markets sold fresh food. Everyone seemed calm and peaceful. What the Council couldn't see was that every child had military training. Every farmer knew how to use weapons. Every market vendor could build explosives from household items. For 3 centuries, humanity had been preparing for war while pretending to be peaceful settlers. Captain Marcus Webb stood in the command center of the merchant vessel Lucky Strike. To Council scanners, it looked like a simple cargo hauler carrying supplies between human colonies. The truth was very different. Report from Agent Thompson on Zephyr Prime, his communications officer said. He's been working as a trade representative for 8 years. The Zaphirians trust him completely. What's his status? He's mapped every military installation and government building on the planet. He's also identified the location of their central telepathic network. When we give the signal, he can take it offline in minutes. Webb nodded. What about Agent Rodriguez on the Crack's homeworld? She's been married to a Crack's military officer for 6 years. She's attended strategy meetings. She knows their battle plans, their weapon specifications, and their fleet movements. How many sleeper agents do we have in place? His officer checked the secure files. Over 2,000 agents scattered across Council space. They've been building false identities and gaining access to critical systems for decades. The Council thinks they're loyal friends and allies. Webb smiled grimly. Humanity had a gift for making friends with other species. What those species didn't realize was that human friendship often came with hidden costs. On Earth, Admiral Chen met with the military leadership in a bunker deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The real human fleet was assembling in hidden bases throughout the galaxy. Status report, Chen ordered. General Roberts stood at a massive holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked human positions, but there were far more dots than the Council suspected. Operation Ghost Fleet is ahead of schedule, Roberts said. We've moved 8,000 ships into position. Stealth technology is working perfectly. Council sensors can't detect them. What about the colonies? Evacuation of non-combatants is 90% complete. They've been moved to hidden bases in the void between galaxies. The colonies now contain only military personnel and volunteers. Chen studied the display. Volunteers? People who chose to stay and fight. Every human colony has them. They'd rather die fighting than live as slaves. Dr. Vasquez entered the room. Admiral, the weapons are ready for deployment. We can activate the quantum viral systems across all Council space simultaneously. Good. What about our defensive preparations? Every human world now has hidden antimatter cannons capable of destroying fleets. Our civilian ships are armed with weapons that make Council battleships look like toys. And we've created something special for their demonstration attack. Chen raised an eyebrow. Special how? Elena smiled coldly. When they attack New Geneva to show us their power, they're going to get a very nasty surprise. The months of preparation were almost over. Across human space, colonies that looked defenseless were actually fortress worlds. Merchant ships carried enough firepower to level planets. Trade representatives were actually intelligence agents, with detailed plans for destroying entire civilizations. Most importantly, humanity had learned from every war in their history. When humans fought, they fought to win completely. There were no honorable defeats or noble surrenders in human culture. There was victory or death, and humanity had decided which one they preferred. On the bridge of his command ship, Ambassador Vexthul watched the reports from human space. Nothing seemed unusual. The humans were trading, farming, going about normal lives. Some appeared to be packing as if preparing to return to Earth. They will surrender, he told his aide. Humans are like all primitive species. When faced with superior force, they become reasonable. His aide, a young Zaphiran named Kethel, looked uncertain. The telepaths are having trouble reading human thoughts, Ambassador. Their minds are strange. All primitive minds are strange to advanced telepaths. It means nothing. But some of our agents report odd behavior. Humans are asking detailed questions about our technology and military procedures. Vexthul waved a hand dismissively. Curiosity. They want to understand their new masters. This is normal behavior for a surrendering species. What Vexthul didn't know was that his aide Kethel had been replaced 6 months ago. The real Kethel was dead, and the human agent wearing advanced disguise technology had been feeding false information to the Council fleet. The Council was completely confident in their superiority. They had overwhelming numbers, advanced technology, and thousands of years of experience conquering species just like humanity. They were about to learn that humanity was nothing like any species they had ever encountered. Time was running out. In just a few months, the Council would expect humanity's final answer. Admiral Chen was looking forward to giving it to them. But first, she had one last preparation to make. The year was up. Ambassador Vexthul's ship appeared again in Earth's solar system, but this time he brought friends. Over 1,000 Council warships surrounded the planet, their weapons aimed at the blue world below. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Retribution. Unlike a year ago, she was now wearing full military dress uniform. Her officers surrounded her, each one calm and professional. They had all been waiting for this moment. "Open communications," Chen ordered. Vexthul appeared on the screen. The alien looked pleased with himself. "Admiral Chen, I trust you have prepared your species' surrender?" "I have an answer for you," Chen replied. Her voice was steady, almost friendly. "But first, I'm curious about something. You mentioned making an example to encourage our cooperation." "Indeed. We have selected the human colony of New Geneva for demonstration. A clean, quick destruction to show your species the futility of resistance. Very merciful considering the circumstances." Chen nodded as if this was reasonable. "How many ships are you sending?" 500 vessels should be sufficient. More than enough to overwhelm any pathetic defenses you might have prepared." "I see. And you're confident this will convince us to surrender?" Vexthul's laugh was an unpleasant hissing sound. "Admiral, 500 of our ships could destroy your entire fleet twice over. Once you see New Geneva turn to cosmic dust, your people will beg to accept our generous terms." "Well then," Chen said quietly, "you should probably get started." Something in her tone made the alien pause. "Admiral, do you not understand the situation? We are about to destroy an entire human colony." "I understand perfectly." Chen's smile was cold as winter. "In fact, I'm counting on it." The transmission ended. Vexthul stared at the blank screen for a moment, then turned to his fleet commander. "Proceed with the demonstration. Destroy New Geneva." 500 Council warships moved through space toward the human colony. Each ship was the size of a city, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Their commanders were confident and relaxed. This would be easy. New Geneva looked like any other human farming colony. Small settlements scattered across a green world. A few hundred civilian ships in orbit. Maybe 20 small defense platforms that wouldn't last 10 seconds against Council firepower. The Council fleet moved into attack position. Admiral Thekvar of the Krax Empire commanded the strike force. He had destroyed dozens of rebellious worlds. This would be no different. "All ships prepare to fire," he ordered. "Target population centers first. We want the humans to see their people die." The weapons powered up. Energy readings climbed toward maximum. In a few seconds, New Geneva would be nothing but burning rubble and radiation. That's when the planet opened fire. What the Council thought were farms and small towns suddenly revealed massive antimatter cannons. The civilian ships in orbit dropped their disguises and became warships armed with weapons that made Council technology look primitive. The small defense platforms unfolded into battle stations the size of moons. Admiral Thekvar watched his fleet die in the first 30 seconds. Antimatter beams cut through Council ships like knives through paper. Human weapons moved faster than Council computers could track. In minutes, 500 warships became expanding clouds of debris. Only Thekvar's command ship survived, and that was because the humans wanted it to survive. They wanted him to see what happened next. Dr. Vasquez pressed a button in her laboratory. On Earth. Across the galaxy, quantum viral weapons activated simultaneously in every Council computer system. The virus spread through their networks in seconds, learning their technology and turning it against them. On the Zaphiran homeworld, Agent Thompson removed his disguise and revealed the weapons hidden in his diplomatic bag. The telepathic species, that had ruled through mental domination for thousands of years, discovered that human minds were naturally immune to their powers. Thompson walked through their government buildings, killing leaders who couldn't understand why their telepathy wasn't working. On the Crax military fortress of Gorath Station, Agent Rodriguez kissed her alien husband goodbye and activated the charges she had spent 6 years carefully placing throughout the structure. The most heavily defended military base in Council space became an expanding ball of plasma. Across Council territory, human sleeper agents revealed their true nature. Species that had trusted humans for decades watched in horror as their friends, and allies became instruments of destruction. Admiral Chen opened a communication channel that reached every corner of the galaxy. Her image appeared on screens throughout Council space. People of the galaxy, she began, her voice calm and clear. 1 year ago, the Galactic Council demanded humanity's surrender. They threatened to destroy us if we refused to become their slaves. Today, we give them our answer. Behind her, tactical displays showed the battle for New Geneva. Council ships continued to explode, as human weapons found their targets with perfect accuracy. The Council made several mistakes in their assessment of humanity. First, they assumed we were like every other species they had conquered. We are not. When humans spread across the galaxy, we weren't running from something. We were preparing for something. For this moment. The display changed to show Council fleets across the galaxy. Everywhere, their ships were dying as their own technology turned against them. Second, they assumed we would be impressed by their numbers and technology. They brought 10,000 ships to threaten 300 human worlds. What they didn't know is that we've been hiding 8,000 ships of our own, waiting for them to make the first move. As if summoned by her words, human fleets appeared throughout Council space. Ships that had been invisible to Council sensors suddenly became visible, their weapons already firing. Third, they assumed we would fight like they do. Honor duels, limited engagements, rules of war. The Council doesn't understand what total war means. Allow me to demonstrate. Admiral Chen pressed another button. Across the galaxy, relativistic kill vehicles launched from hidden human bases. Asteroids accelerated to 90% of light speed began their journey toward Council homeworlds. The Council wanted to make an example of us. Instead, they have become an example for the rest of the galaxy. This is what happens to species that threaten human freedom. The transmission ended. Throughout Council space, the slaughter had begun in earnest. On his dying command ship, Admiral Thekvar tried to send a message to the Council fleet. All ships retreat. It's a trap. The humans were ready for us. But the quantum viral weapons had already infected the communication systems. His message was intercepted and replaced with new orders that sent Council ships directly into human ambushes. Captain Webb stood on the bridge of the Lucky Strike, which had revealed itself to be a heavy battlecruiser armed with experimental weapons. Around him, a Council fleet of 200 ships died as human technology proved its superiority. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "their shields can't stop our particle beams. Their armor is useless against our antimatter torpedoes. It's like fighting children with adult weapons." Webb nodded grimly. The Council spent thousands of years believing they were superior. They stopped innovating. We spent 300 years preparing for this war. Every human weapon was designed specifically to kill Council ships. The last Council vessel in his sector exploded in a ball of white fire. Webb opened communications to the human fleet. "This is Captain Webb to all human forces. New Geneva sector is clear. Moving to support Fleet Group 7 at the Zaphiran homeworld. Across the galaxy, similar messages filled human communication channels. The Council's mighty fleets were being systematically destroyed by an enemy they had underestimated in every possible way. The war they thought would last hours was already over. Now came the real work, making sure no Council species would ever again threaten human freedom. Ambassador Vexthul sat in his command ship above Earth, watching reports pour in from across the galaxy. Every Council fleet was being destroyed. Every Council world was under attack. In a few hours, an empire that had lasted 50,000 years was collapsing completely. How? He whispered to himself. How is this possible? Admiral Chen's voice came over his communication system. Ambassador, do you have a moment to talk? Ambassador Vexthul's hands shook as he accepted Admiral Chen's communication. Around him, his bridge crew stared at their screens in disbelief. Reports continued to pour in from across the galaxy, each one worse than the last. Admiral Chen, Vexthul said, trying to keep his voice steady. Perhaps we can discuss terms. The Council is prepared to negotiate. Chen's face appeared on his screen. She looked exactly the same as she had a year ago, but now Vexthul could see something in her eyes that he had missed before. It was the look of a predator that had been playing with its food. Negotiate? Chen asked politely. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, Ambassador. You see, when the Council demanded our surrender, we took that as a declaration of war, and humans don't negotiate with enemies during wartime. But surely we can reach some arrangement. The Council is willing to withdraw from human space completely. We could establish trade agreements, cultural exchanges. Ambassador, Chen interrupted, gently. Let me show you something. The screen changed to display a tactical map of the galaxy. Red dots showed human forces. Blue dots showed Council forces. A year ago, there had been thousands of blue dots. Now there were maybe a few hundred, and they were disappearing as Vexthul watched. In the past 6 hours, Chen explained, humanity has destroyed approximately 8,000 Council warships. We've eliminated the governments of 7 Council species. 3 entire fleets have surrendered, and we've executed their crews for crimes against humanity. Vexthul's breath caught. Executed? But they surrendered. Yes, and normally we would accept surrender. But you made one critical error, Ambassador. You threatened to commit genocide against the human species. That moved you from the category of enemy to the category of existential threat. Humans deal with existential threats very differently. The map zoomed in on specific systems. Vexthul watched in horror as planets that had been blue turned red, indicating human control. The Krek's homeworld fell 2 hours ago, Chen continued conversationally. 30 billion Kraks lived there yesterday. Today the planet is empty except for human settlers moving in. The Zaphiran capital lasted a bit longer, but their telepathic abilities proved useless against human mental defenses. Very disappointing, really. We expected more of a challenge. You're committing genocide, Vexthul whispered. No, Ambassador. We're solving a problem. Genocide implies killing innocents. The Council species stopped being innocent when they decided to exterminate humanity. Now they're simply obstacles to human survival, and humans are very good at removing obstacles. Captain Webb's fleet arrived at the Andromax system, where the insectoid Council species had built their greatest shipyards. The Andromax had been building warships for 20,000 years. Their orbital facilities could produce 100 vessels per day. All ships target the shipyards first, Webb ordered. I want every construction facility reduced to scrap metal. The human fleet opened fire. Advanced particle weapons tore through Andromax defenses like they were made of paper. The shipyards that had built thousands of Council warships became expanding clouds of debris in minutes. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're receiving surrender signals from the planet's surface. Ignored, Webb replied. Continue firing until there's nothing left but molten rock. But sir, they're surrendering. Webb turned to face his officer. The young man looked uncomfortable with the order, but Webb had seen enough human colonies, burned by Council weapons, to feel any sympathy for their builders. Lieutenant, let me explain something about this war. The Andromax built the ships that were going to turn human children into radioactive ash. They forged the weapons that would have erased our entire species. Surrender doesn't undo that. Surrender doesn't bring back the dead. Surrender is just what cowards do when they realize they're about to face justice. The bombardment continued until the planet's surface glowed white-hot. Another council species added to the growing list of extinct civilizations. Dr. Vasquez monitored the biological weapons deployment from her laboratory. The quantum viral infections had spread through every council computer system, but the biological variants were proving even more effective. Status report on the hegemony worlds, she requested. Dr. Park checked his screens. Complete success. The pathogen reached 97% of their population before their medical systems even detected it. By then, it was too late. The disease had already adapted to their immune responses. Time to total population collapse? 72 hours for the main worlds. Remote colonies might last a few days longer, but the outcome is inevitable. Elena nodded. The hegemony had been particularly enthusiastic supporters of humanity's destruction. They had volunteered to provide the ships for burning human colonies. Now their enthusiasm had been rewarded with a custom-designed plague that turned their own immune systems into weapons against their bodies. What about the collective? They're trying to upload their consciousness into their computer networks to escape the biological weapons. Unfortunately, the quantum virus is already waiting for them in their systems. Every time they try to upload, they're immediately deleted. Elena smiled coldly. The collective had been the Council's primary intelligence service. They had spent decades mapping human colonies and planning the most efficient ways to exterminate human populations. Now they were discovering that their own technology had become their tomb. On Earth, Admiral Chen addressed the human military leadership. The war room was filled with officers from every branch of the military, but the mood was businesslike rather than celebratory. Situation report, Chen ordered. General Roberts stood at the tactical display. Resistance is collapsing faster than projected. Council forces are surrendering or fleeing in every sector. Several species are attempting to evacuate their populations beyond the galactic rim. Attempting. Human pursuit fleets are already in position. The evacuation convoys are being intercepted and destroyed. No council ship leaves the galaxy. Chen nodded approvingly. What about neutral species? They're requesting permission to establish formal diplomatic relations. Several have offered tribute in exchange for protection from other council remnants. Acceptable. What about the council leadership? Most are dead. Those still alive are requesting asylum from various neutral governments. The neutrals are refusing and turning them over to human forces. Chen walked to the window overlooking Earth. Below, normal life continued. Children went to school. People worked in offices and factories. Families had dinner together. None of them had any idea that their species was currently in the process of conquering the galaxy. Time to completion? Chen asked. At current rates, complete elimination of council forces within 2 weeks. Total conquest of their territories within a month. And the populations? Roberts hesitated. Admiral, we're talking about the extinction of 12 sentient species. Trillions of lives. Chen turned to face him. General, how many human lives were they planning to extinguish? All of them. Then we're being generous. We're only destroying the species that threatened us, not every species in the galaxy. Chen's voice was calm, matter of fact. Besides, extinction is the natural consequence of picking a fight with humanity and losing. Ambassador Vex Thule tried one last desperate gambit. His personal ship raced toward the edge of the galaxy, carrying the last surviving council leadership. If they could escape human space, they might be able to rebuild somewhere else, warn other galaxies about the human threat. The human pursuit ships caught them 3 light-years from the galactic rim. Vexthul watched his escorts die in moments as human weapons proved their superiority once again. "This is Admiral Chen to Ambassador Vexthul," came the familiar voice. "Going somewhere?" "Please," Vexthul begged, no longer caring about dignity. "Let us go. We'll never return. We'll never threaten humanity again." "I'm sure that's true," Chen replied. "But you see, Ambassador, we have a policy about existential threats. We don't just defeat them, We eliminate them completely. It's the only way to be sure they won't try again in a few thousand years. But we've learned our lesson. We understand now that humanity is superior. Yes, you do understand that. Unfortunately, you understand it too late. The human ships opened fire. Vexthul had just enough time to realize that humanity had been planning this moment from the very beginning before his ship joined the expanding debris field that marked the end of the Council's 50,000-year reign. The galaxy was learning a new truth about humanity. They weren't just another species that had reached the stars. They were the species that had reached the stars while planning for war with everyone they met. The Council had threatened them with extinction and received exactly the same threat, in return, delivered with human efficiency and thoroughness. Within 2 weeks, there would be no Council left to remember their mistake. 2 years had passed since the Council's ultimatum. Where once 12 mighty civilizations had ruled the galaxy, now there was only silence and human expansion. Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of the new space station orbiting what had once been the Zaphiran homeworld. The planet below was green and peaceful, covered with human settlements and farms. It was hard to believe that just 2 years ago it had been home to 50 billion telepathic aliens who had helped plan humanity's extinction. "Final report, Admiral," General Roberts said as he joined her at the window. He carried a data pad with the numbers that told the story of humanity's complete victory. "Give me the summary," Chen said. "All Council species, extinct. All Council territories, under human control. All Council technology, analyzed and improved. Total human casualties, during the war, approximately 50,000 military personnel." Chen nodded. 50,000 humans dead in exchange for 12 extinct alien civilizations. Military historians would probably call it the most one-sided war in galactic history. What about the neutral species? 47 governments have requested formal alliance with humanity. 19 others have asked for protectorate status. The rest are maintaining respectful distance and requesting permission before entering human space. Any threats? Roberts shook his head. None. Word of what happened to the Council has spread throughout the galaxy. Most species are going out of their way to demonstrate peaceful intentions. Dr. Vasquez approached them, carrying her own report. As humanity's chief scientist, she had been responsible for analyzing and cataloging everything the Council species had developed over 50,000 years of civilization. "Elena, what did we learn?" Chen asked. "Everything," Vasquez replied simply. "Their mathematics, their physics, their biology, their technology. We now understand scientific principles that would have taken us thousands of years to discover on our own." "Anything useful?" "All of it. We've already improved our starship engines by 300%. Our weapons are now capable of destroying entire solar systems. Our medical technology can extend human life indefinitely. And we've learned to build artificial intelligence that makes our current computers look like stone tools." Chen smiled. "The spoils of victory." "There's something else," Vasquez continued. "We've discovered records of other galactic civilizations beyond this galaxy. The Council maintained contact with similar empires in nearby galaxies. They were apparently planning to invite their allies to help with humanity's extermination. Were they now?" Chen's voice carried a dangerous edge. "How many other galaxies are we talking about?" "At least 7 that we know of. Each one controlled by a different species but all following the same basic model as the Council. Established powers that prevent younger species from expanding freely." General Roberts frowned. "Are they aware of what happened here?" "Yes." "Council. Ships managed to send warning messages before we destroyed them. The other galactic empires know that humanity eliminated the Council." "And their response?" Vasquez checked her data. "Mixed. 2 galaxies have closed their borders and gone completely silent. 3 others are building massive defensive fleets. The remaining 2 are reportedly preparing invasion forces." Chen looked out at the peaceful planet below, where human families were building new lives on the ruins of an alien empire. Children played in parks built over the rubble of Zaphiran cities. Schools taught human history where once alien academies had trained telepathic warriors. "Admiral," Roberts said carefully, What are your orders regarding these other galactic empires? Chen was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she turned away from the window. General, what's humanity's current military strength? Approximately 20,000 ships of the line, each one superior to anything the Council ever built. We also have the production capacity to build 1,000 new ships per month. Human population is expanding rapidly into former Council territories. And our intelligence network? We've placed agents in all 7 galaxies. They're already mapping military installations, government structures, and population centers. Several agents have reached high positions in alien governments. Time frame for full intelligence gathering? Complete strategic intelligence on all 7 galaxies within 5 years. Chen nodded. Elena, how long to adapt our weapons for use against these new species? We have biological samples and technological specifications from Council archives. I can have species-specific weapons ready within 2 years. The quantum viral weapons can be adapted even faster. Good. Chen walked toward the door, then paused. General, there's something I want you to understand about this situation. Yes, Admiral? When the Council demanded our surrender, they weren't acting alone. They were part of a galactic order that views young species as threats to be eliminated. That order still exists in 7 other galaxies, and now they all know humanity exists. Roberts nodded slowly. So we're still under threat. Exactly. As long as any part of this galactic order survives, humanity will never be truly safe. They'll build fleets, develop new weapons, look for allies, and eventually they'll try to finish what the Council started. So what do we do? Chen's smile was cold as winter. We solved the problem the same way we solved the Council. Completely. Captain Webb received his new orders while patrolling the edge of what had been Council space. The Lucky Strike had been refitted with technology taken from 12 extinct civilizations. His ship could now travel between galaxies in a matter of days. Sir, his communications officer said, we're receiving coded transmissions from Agent Harrison in the Andromeda Galaxy. Webb accepted the transmission. Agent Harrison appeared on screen, wearing the robes of a high-ranking official in the Andromedan Empire's government. Captain, I've reached the position of strategic planning. Minister, the Andromedans are indeed preparing an invasion force to attack humanity. They believe they can succeed where the Council failed. How many ships? 50,000 vessels, each one larger than anything the Council built. They're also bringing allies from 3 other galaxies. Total invasion force will exceed 200,000 ships. Webb whistled softly. Even with humanity's technological advantages, those were serious numbers. Timeline for invasion? 10 years. They want to be absolutely certain of victory. They're building weapons specifically designed to counter human technology, and they're training their crews in anti-human tactics. Understood. Continue your mission and await further orders. The transmission ended. Webb opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Captain Webb to Admiral Chen. Urgent strategic intelligence requires immediate attention. Within hours, Chen was aboard the Lucky Strike, studying the intelligence reports from all 7 galaxies. The picture they painted was clear. Humanity had won a battle, but the war was far from over. 200,000 ships, Chen mused. They're certainly taking us seriously. Admiral, Webb said, with respect, even our improved technology might not be enough to stop that kind of force. Chen smiled. Marcus, you're thinking like the Council did. You're focused on ship-to-ship combat, but humans don't fight that way, remember? What do you mean? I mean, why wait for them to invade us? Why fight a defensive war when we can fight an offensive one? Dr. Vasquez joined the conversation via hologram from Earth. Admiral, what are you proposing? I'm proposing we take the lessons learned from our war with the Council and apply them on a larger scale. We have 5 years before their earliest possible attack date. That's plenty of time to do what we do best, which is prepare for total war while pretending to be peaceful explorers. Chen stood and walked to the tactical display showing the 7 galaxies. Elena, I want you to develop weapons capable of exterminating every species in all 7 galaxies simultaneously. Marcus, I want you to coordinate with our agents to map every critical target. General Roberts will handle the military buildup. Webb looked at the display showing trillions of alien lives across 7 galaxies. Admiral, we're talking about genocide on an unimaginable scale. Chen turned to face him. Marcus, what did these species plan to do to humanity? Kill us all. Then they've already made their choice. We're just making ours. As the meeting ended, Chen returned to the observation window. Below, human children played in parks while their parents worked to build a better future. None of them knew that their species was about to embark on the largest military campaign in galactic history. But Chen knew, and she knew that when the shooting started, humanity would be ready. The galaxy had learned what happened to species that threatened human extinction. Soon, 7 other galaxies would learn the same lesson. The Council had demanded surrender. They received eradication. Now it was time to teach the rest of the universe what happened when anyone threatened humanity's future. The age of human expansion was just beginning.